When I first started hanging out with Shane, it was like he always had his camera with him, and it was right in my face half the time, like click, click. He was constantly taking pictures, whatever we were doing. And I would sometimes be trying to explain something or express something to him, and the camera would be right there. And in the beginning, I was like, who is this guy? You know, what's his deal? And it wasn't until I saw his pictures that I got it. You know, I understood that there's a part of who Shane is. There's a part of his essence, a part of what he's seen in the world and experienced in the world, and what the world has given him, that he gives back through his pictures, through his photographs. And when I saw his work, I didn't mind the camera in my face anymore. You know, I understood where he was coming from. I understood that there is something in Shane, something that he's seen in the world, that the world has given him, that he gives back through his work, through his photography. It's the fact that Shane has been profoundly affected by the world outside of our borders. He started traveling when he was very young. The first time he went to the Middle East, I think he was around 18, and he was traveling in Europe, and he spontaneously decided to go to Turkey. And he came to this place, this awesome, fascinating, vibrant, beautiful culture. And he thought, now why is it that we're taught that this is some kind of dangerous, scary, violent place? Like, why is it that we are given this false impression? And at a very young age, when he had that experience of seeing the Middle East through his own eyes, he wanted to be part of changing that. That false impression that most people in our country have.
Shane's actually decided to take Arabic immediately after 9/11 happened. And his main reason for doing that was he wanted to bring an understanding to our country about the people of the Middle East. He was afraid that everybody in the Middle East was going to be lumped into this category, and he did not want that to happen.
Well, you know, as a person, Shane has a passion, just a burning passion for justice and social justice, and I think that comes through in his journalism because he writes about people that have often been marginalized or forgotten about, or conflicts that are either being ignored or distorted by the mainstream media, or really only certain aspects of stories are coming out, and he really gets in there and digs in and tells the real stories that humanizes these, you know, people. And I think he loves the people that he writes about a lot of the time. I mean, I think you can see that in his photos. You know, the fact that he can go into this, you know, war-torn region like Darfur, or these hotels along 6th Street, you know, which is popularly known as like the Skid Row of San Francisco, you know, that most people avoid, and you walk down the street and there's, you know, needles everywhere, and people look dirty, and there's, you know, a lot of mental illness, and I think a lot of people would be really scared to go in a situation like that.
Shane is brilliant, for one thing, and he has a huge heart. He is accomplished beyond his years as a journalist. He's been very intently focused for years on writing investigative pieces and exposés on U.S. military aggression and overreaching. I mean, he's been very critical of those things that are worthy of criticism about U.S. foreign policy currently, particularly in the Middle East. And I think it's no accident that he wanted to go to the Middle East, especially with his background as a student of Arabic at Berkeley. And he was writing some phenomenal investigative pieces for some, very popular and significant, mostly left-leaning publications.
If you're the Iranian government, or if you're anyone, if you look this guy up, and you can easily get everything he's ever written, from the earliest stuff, it's just so absurdly sober, so fair.
He is incredibly fair. Like, he wants to tell everything, all sides. He's not a one-sided guy. I mean, he makes sure to tell the whole story, and I think that's That's why he wanted to do it, is because in the media it's so hard to see all sides of the story. He wanted to make sure that people are getting the full view of what's going on.
We didn't really have to talk that much. I mean, I kind of, we spoke the same language with photography. I could look at his work. I could see in his eyes his deep concern for the things that he had seen and photographed, and his deeply wanting to get those photographs out into the world.
In terms of Darfur, Shane very much felt that there was a lot that was missing, and that Darfur was being spun in this, was being spun in a way that made Africans seem helpless, and that greatly simplified the situation. And after some talking about it, he said, "Look, I think we should make a movie about this."
If he saw somebody in trouble or something or needed something, he wasn't the type to walk by. He'll stop and help them. He had a really good job when he got out of school and stuff, but that wasn't enough. He wanted he liked photography and journalism, so he kept working and doing that stuff too. And I was like, holy cow, just go, go, go.
I think that's the main thing that I want people to understand about him, is just learning more about who he is and reading his articles and looking at his photography. I think it just shows so much of his heart and so much of what he cares about, and that he obviously had no ill will for being there. It was all to help.